Hey, everyone, and welcome back. We love to talk about going global with your business, and today we're going to deep dive into Argentina.
Oh, yeah. Argentina is a really interesting market. Lots of potential there.
Okay, so what makes Argentina so special? Like, why would a company want to expand there?
We've had a really skilled workforce down there. The economy's growing. And on top of that, it's in a really strategic location within South America.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But I'm guessing it's not exactly a walk in the park to just set up shop in a new country.
No.
What kind of challenges do businesses usually face when they're trying to expand internationally, like into Argentina?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's definitely not just a simple process.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things you got to figure out is all the legal and administrative stuff. Setting up a legal entity can take forever.
Oh, I bet.
Like we're talking sometimes even a year.
Oh, wow.
And then on top of that, you got this whole other world of local labor laws that you got to figure out.
Oh, yeah. I can only imagine, even just thinking about payroll and benefits and, making sure everything is by the book in a different country, it's kind of overwhelming.
It's a lot. And that's where a PEO comes in.
A PEO.
Yeah, a professional employer organization.
Okay.
Like INS Global, they're really great.
So they help with this whole process.
Exactly. They basically become your local HR department in Argentina. So they're like your trusted partner over there.
So instead of me spending months trying to figure out all the legal stuff and, build an HR team from the ground up, I could just work with INS Global and have them handle all of that for me.
Yeah, exactly. They'll help you get set up and running quickly so you can actually focus on your business.
I like the sound of that already.
Yeah.
So can you break it down for me a little bit? What exactly does a PEO do? What kinds of things are they taking care of?
Okay, so they handle a bunch of different HR things, payroll, benefits, and probably the biggest thing, making sure you're following all the local labor laws.
Yeah.
They actually become the legal employer of your workers in Argentina, so you don't have to set up your own separate company or anything.
Oh, okay. So it's like having a local expert on my team without actually having to go through the whole process of hiring and managing them myself.
That's a great way to put it. And then they also have this other thing called an EOR.
EOR.
Employer of record.
Okay, what's the difference?
So with an EOR, INS Global takes on even more responsibility. So they handle all those HR things we talked about, but they also become the legal employer of your staff in Argentina. So think about it. They're dealing with contracts, payroll, taxes, and any legal headaches that pop up. They take care of it.
Gotcha. So basically, they're taking all the complicated HR stuff off my plate so I can actually focus on running and growing my business, right?
Exactly. And, it goes way beyond just doing those tasks. One big thing is you're guaranteed to be following the law.
Ah, okay.
INS Global, they know Argentinian labor laws inside and out.
Right.
They make sure your company is doing everything by the book. That minimizes your risk of getting hit with penalties or getting into legal trouble.
Yeah, it's a big relief for businesses that are going global, right?
Absolutely.
What other advantages are there to working with INS Global?
Cost savings. Setting up a company in a new country, it can be so expensive.
I bet.
Not to mention the time it takes. With INS Global, you basically cut out a lot of those costs.
Yeah, I was reading that it can be like 80% cheaper to work with a PEO like INS Global than trying to set up your own company, which is a huge amount of money, especially for companies that want to expand without breaking the bank.
It's huge. And these cost savings aren't just like a one-time thing. You keep saving because you don't have all those overhead costs of maintaining your own office space, legal fees, a whole HR staff. Nope, all bundled up in one monthly fee. Easy peasy.
That is easy. Predictable, too. Makes budgeting a lot easier.
Exactly.
So it sounds like working with a PEO is way more streamlined. I am curious about one thing, though. How does this compare to just setting up my own company in Argentina? Wouldn't that give me more control?
That's a really good question. And, it seems like you would have more control, but a lot of times there are these hidden costs and complexities that come with doing everything yourself.
Oh, I bet.
You got to think about incorporating, finding office space, hiring people locally, and then dealing with all the bureaucracy. It can be a mess and take forever. I mean, we're talking 6 months, a year, or even longer to get up and running.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it's like, do you want to spend all that time and energy, or do you want to get up and running quickly and start making money sooner?
Right, exactly.
I think time is probably more valuable than control at that point, especially when you're first getting into a new market.
Exactly. And you're potentially saving a ton of money by not having to deal with all those administrative fees and potential legal problems. Plus, there's even research that shows that companies that use PEOs have lower employee turnover. which is huge.
Oh, that's a big plus. So what I'm hearing is that INS Global isn't just like a shortcut. It's more like a smart move that can help me grow my business in Argentina more quickly and efficiently.
You got it. And to give you an example, there's this guy, Manuel Ramos, who's the managing director of Tarayo Asia.
Okay.
He said that INS Global was an awesome solution for him to start doing business in a new market because it let him test the waters without actually setting up a company right away.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's like dipping your toes in the pool before jumping all the way in. So it sounds like INS Global gives you that flexibility to explore without making a huge commitment up front.
Absolutely.
So I'm sold. Tell me how I can work with them.
It's actually a pretty simple process.
Okay, good.
It starts with just a consultation, where you talk about your needs and what you want to do in Argentina. They really personalize their approach, so it's not just a one-size-fits-all thing.
So they really tailor it to your business.
Yeah, absolutely. They work with you to come up with a custom plan. Once that's in place, they'll handle all the legal structure stuff to employ your workforce in Argentina, contracts, registrations, making sure everything follows local labor laws. They handle it all.
Okay, so no legal legwork for me.
Nope. They take care of everything, so you can relax.
That's great.
And once that's all set up, they handle all the ongoing HR stuff, like payroll, benefits, compliance, even employee relations. They do it all.
Okay, I'm not going to lie. This is starting to sound too good to be true. Is there a catch?
Honestly, the best part about this model is just how simple it is. You only have one point of contact at INS Global for all your HR needs.
Okay, that's nice.
So communication's really easy.
So I'm really liking how this sounds, but I have to admit, I'm still a little fuzzy on the whole PEO versus EOR thing. Can you just clear that up for me again?
Of course. The big difference is like how much legal responsibility each one has. So with a PEO, you and INS Global share responsibility as co-employers.
Okay.
But with an EOR, INS Global is the only legal employer.
Oh, okay.
They take on all the liabilities and stuff.
So it's like choosing which level of involvement I want and how much risk I'm comfortable with.
Exactly. And the good thing is INS Global offers both options.
Oh, perfect.
So you can choose what works best for you.
Awesome. Okay, so before we move on, let's talk about Argentinian labor laws for a minute. They're probably pretty complex, right?
It can be, yeah. That's why it's so helpful to have experts like INS Global on your side.
Oh, yeah?
They really know their stuff and they can make sure that you're following all the rules.
Okay, so let's get into some specifics. What are some of the key things I should know about employment contracts in Argentina?
The first thing is it's always best to have a written contract.
Okay.
Even though it's not always mandatory, it just makes things a lot clearer.
Right.
You want to make sure that all the terms and conditions for your employees are really clear and in writing.
Okay, so no handshake agreements when it comes to Argentinian labor law.
Yeah, exactly. Clarity is key.
Gotcha.
Also, fixed-term contracts, they have a limit of 5 years. And probation periods, they usually last 3 months.
Okay, good to know. So what about things like working hours and overtime? Like how much can people work?
The maximum is 48 hours per week.
Okay.
Anything over that is considered overtime, and it has to be paid at a higher rate. Plus, there's a limit on how much overtime someone can work each month.
Oh, okay. So they're really trying to make sure that people aren't overworked.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good. What about holidays and vacation time? How many public holidays do they have in Argentina?
15 public holidays a year.
What?
And employees also get time off for religious holidays.
Oh, okay.
And here's a bonus. If an employee has to work on a public holiday, they get paid double.
Wow, nice. What about vacation time?
So after 6 months of work, they get 2 weeks of paid vacation.
Okay.
And that goes up the longer they work there.
Wow, that's pretty generous. What about sick leave? Like if somebody gets sick, how much time do they get?
So if you've worked there less than 5 years, you get 3 months of paid sick leave.
Right.
If it's more than 5 years, you get 6 months.
Wow.
And if you get sick because of your job, then you get a whole year of paid leave. Plus, they cover all your medical expenses.
That's good. Okay. So what about maternity and paternity leave? What are the rules for that?
Mothers have to take 45 days off before and after they give birth. For fathers, it's 2 days, but a lot of companies give more time than that.
Yeah, 2 days does seem a little short, but it's good that some companies are giving more time.
Right.
Are there any other types of paid leave?
Yeah, they get 10 days for marriage and 3 days for bereavement.
Wow. Okay. So we've covered contracts, working hours, holidays, and leave. Yeah. What about the financial side of things, taxes and Social Security? Can you give me a quick overview of how that works in Argentina?
Sure. Income tax is progressive, which means it changes based on how much money you make. The employer's Social Security tax is 25.5%, and corporate income tax is 25%.
Okay, that's helpful. So it's pretty clear that Argentinian labor law can be pretty complex. It seems like it'd be really tough to navigate all that without some expert help.
You're right, but that's where INS Global really comes in handy. They take care of all the compliance stuff, so you can just focus on growing your business.
Yeah, it sounds like they're much more than just a basic service. It's like they're a real partner for businesses that want to expand internationally.
Exactly. They're there to support you every step of the way.
This has been a really thorough look at PEO and EOR services in Argentina. So for our listeners who are thinking about expanding their business there, what are some key things to remember?
I would say the main things are speed and efficiency. INS Global can get things up and running so much faster than traditional methods.
Yeah, and the cost savings too, right? We talked about how much cheaper it can be to work with INS Global than to go it alone.
Absolutely. And of course, being sure that you're following the law is huge. INS Global takes care of all those complex international employment rules so you don't have to. That really minimizes your risk.
Right, and they take care of so much of the HR workload so you can really focus on growth.
Exactly. It's all about being as efficient as possible and being successful in Argentina.
Well said.
Okay.
Okay, so for anyone who's ready to take the next step, how do they connect with INS Global?
It's really easy. Just reach out to them today and tell them about your project. They're
Okay.
happy to chat with you for free and guide you through the whole process.
Great. We'll be sure to include their contact info in the show notes. But before we move on to part 2, I just have one final question for you. What's one important thing our listeners should keep in mind as they think about expanding their business globally?
It's a journey, not a sprint.
Oh,
Expanding globally takes planning and the right
wow.
partners, and you have to be open to adapting along the way. But if you have the right support and guidance, it can be a really amazing experience.
That's great advice. We'll be back with part 2 of our deep dive into PEO and EOR services in Argentina, so stay tuned.
So before the break, we were getting into Argentinian labor laws and how a partner like INS Global can really help simplify things. It's like having your own built-in legal and HR team all rolled into one.
That's a great way to think about it. They take care of so much, letting you concentrate on the most important thing, your business. That makes sense. Speaking of business, I was wondering, does INS Global specialize in any specific industries? Or can any company use their services?
Actually, they work with a ton of different industries: tech, finance, manufacturing, retail, you name it.
Wow, so pretty much anything.
Yeah, they know that each industry has its own, unique things to consider when expanding.
Right, of course. It's always helpful to hear some real-world examples. Do you have any stories about how companies have actually benefited from using INS Global in Argentina?
Oh, tons. Just imagine you're a tech company, let's say based in the US, and you want to get into the Argentinian tech scene, which is booming.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So you could spend months and months setting up your own entity there, figuring out all the legal stuff, building your HR team. It could take a year.
Yeah, that sounds like a logistical nightmare, honestly.
It can be a real pain. But with INS Global, you could have a whole team of talented developers working for you in Argentina in a matter of days. They handle all of it: contracts, payroll, benefits, making sure you're following the law.
Wow, that's amazing.
Right. So you're not only saving time and money, but you're also tapping into this amazing talent pool super fast.
Exactly. And it's not just tech. Let's say you're a manufacturing company and you want to open a plant down in Argentina. INS Global can help you find the right people, get them hired, make sure you're following all those local safety rules, manage the whole HR side of things.
Wow. It's like they handle everything. I can see how that would be a huge weight off your shoulders as a business owner. You can just focus on actually making stuff, knowing your employees are in good hands.
Right. They really are like a Swiss Army knife for global expansion. They've got every tool you need.
I love that analogy. It makes perfect sense. Speaking of tools, we've all been hearing so much about remote work and, the gig economy and all of that. How does INS Global adapt to these new ways of working? That is a great question, and it's something they're really on top of. The future of work is changing. It's more flexible, less centralized, and their services are built for that. They can help you hire and manage people remotely in Argentina. They make sure everything's legal, even if your employees aren't physically in the country.
Oh, interesting. So even if I'm not setting up a physical office, I can still use INS Global.
Absolutely. They can also help with all the tricky parts of hiring freelancers, all the legal and tax stuff. And they make sure the onboarding process is smooth.
But they really thought of everything. So whether you're building a traditional team or a remote team, INS Global can help.
Exactly. They're all about being flexible and giving you solutions that really fit your needs.
This is great. Very encouraging for anyone who wants to explore Argentina. Are there any potential downsides to using a PEO or EOR?
It's a good question. You should definitely be aware of a few things. The most important thing is that you choose a really good provider, a company with a solid reputation experience like INS Global. There are a lot of companies out there, and they aren't all the same.
So do your research, ask for references, really make sure you trust the company you're working with.
Exactly. You don't want to take any chances. It's your business. Don't be afraid to ask some tough questions like how much experience they have, what their compliance procedures are, how they handle data security.
All good things to keep in mind.
Absolutely.
What other things should companies think about?
Communication and cultural sensitivity are really key.
Ah, okay.
INS Global can take care of all the legal and administrative stuff, but it's still important for you to have a good relationship with your team in Argentina.
Yeah, makes sense. Clear communication, being mindful of cultural differences, maybe even learning a little Spanish.
Exactly. And the good news is INS Global can help with that too. They offer cultural training and language support and other things to help you build strong relationships with your team in Argentina.
That's great. So it really is like having a partner. Okay, so it's starting to all come together now. Expanding into a new country can seem really scary, but with the right partner, it doesn't have to be.
That's the whole point. INS Global really takes the stress out of it. You can focus on running your business and growing it.
Okay, so we've covered so much today. All the details of Argentinian labor laws, the benefits of working with INS Global, examples from different industries. It's really clear that Argentina has a lot to offer for businesses that want to grow.
It does. And with the right approach and the right partners, it can be a really smooth and successful expansion.
Couldn't agree more. Before we wrap up part 2, I just want to leave our listeners with a thought. You know, going global is more than just making money.
Oh, definitely.
It's about experiencing new cultures, building relationships with people from all over the world, and I think contributing to the global economy in a positive way.
I love that. Expanding globally can be incredibly enriching. It's not just good for your business, it's good for you personally. You learn new things, you see different perspectives, and you can really make a positive difference.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, that's it for part 2 of our deep dive into PEO and EOR services in Argentina. Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll be answering some frequently asked questions and giving you some extra resources to check out. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring what it takes to expand your business into Argentina and how INS Global can help you make that happen.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how much we've covered. We've talked about the labor laws and seen examples of companies that are really succeeding in Argentina.
It really does give you a clear picture of all the potential Argentina has for businesses that are looking to grow. And it seems like INS Global is a pretty key part of unlocking all that potential.
Definitely, they can make things a whole lot smoother. So if people want to learn more, where can they find more info about INS Global and their services?
That's a great question. INS Global's website is a great resource. It's got all the details about their PEO and EOR solutions, case studies, client testimonials, even a blog about all the latest trends in global expansion.
Sounds like they really have it all.
They really do. They also have a team of experts who are ready to answer any questions you might have and walk you through the process.
So it sounds like their website's the best place to start.
It definitely is. And if our listeners are ready to take the next step, what would you suggest they do?
Reach out to INS Global, tell them about your project. They offer free consultations, so it's a great way to figure out what your options are and how they can help you achieve your goals in Argentina.
Perfect. That's a great first step. Now, let's get into some of those frequently asked questions that businesses have about PEO and EOR services. One I hear a lot is, can I just use my existing company to employ people in Argentina?
Yeah, that's a really common one. People think it's that easy, but unfortunately, it's not that simple.
Right. So it's the answer.
To be fully legal and compliant with Argentinian labor laws, you need to have a local entity set up in the country. That's where INS Global comes in. They provide that local entity for you. So you can legally hire employees in Argentina without having to set up your own subsidiary.
Gotcha. So it's all about streamlining the process, taking care of the legal and administrative stuff so you don't have to. What other questions do people ask a lot?
Let me think. Oh, another one is about liability. People want to know, what exactly are the liabilities of an employer of record?
Yeah, that's a big one. It's important to understand what responsibilities they're taking on.
You're right. So basically, the employer of record is the one who's legally responsible for the employees in Argentina.
Oh, okay.
Things like contracts, payroll, taxes, social security contributions, making sure everything is by the book according to local regulations.
So when I work with INS Global as my EOR, they take on all of that.
Exactly. It gives you peace of mind knowing that someone you trust is handling all the legal and financial stuff for you. You can focus on your business and know that the compliance side is covered.
I bet that's a huge relief for business owners.
It is. And here's another question. People are always curious about how fast they can get up and running. How quickly can I expand into Argentina using these services?
Yeah, I bet people want to know time is money, especially when you're excited about a new opportunity.
Absolutely. And the great news is that if you use a PEO or EOR service like INS Global, you can have employees up and running in Argentina in just a few days.
That's amazing. I mean, compared to trying to do it yourself, which could take months, maybe even a year.
Exactly. It's one of the best things about this model. It's so much faster and more efficient.
Well, I think we've covered just about everything today. Any final words of advice for our listeners as they start thinking about going global?
Expanding globally can be a game changer for your business. It really can. You'll open up new markets, meet talented people from all over, and spread out your operations. But you have to be strategic about it.
So what are the most important things to keep in mind?
Definitely do your research. Make sure you choose the right partners who share your values and goals, and don't be afraid to ask for help along the way.
All great advice. And remember, INS Global is there to support you every step of the way. They've got the expertise and the experience to help you succeed in Argentina.
It takes so much of the guesswork out.
It really does. So what are you waiting for? Reach out to INS Global today. Tell them about your expansion plans and let them show you how to make it happen in Argentina.
The possibilities are endless.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into PEO and EOR services in Argentina. We hope you found it helpful and inspiring. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep exploring all the amazing opportunities out there.